again, we have to live in the reality. And what happens is if you have too many shoulds and supposed to's, that gives you an excuse. You go, oh, I was supposed to be farther along right now. This isn't fair. I tried, I gave it my all, but it didn't happen like it should have. So now what do? I quit.
Yeah.
That's self-sabotage. That's not like, so what people will say in that instance is like, oh, I tried it and it didn't work. What is in reality, what happened is you didn't try for long enough for you to get the actual result. And you use that as an excuse to sabotage yourself, to give up. And now you can pat yourself on the back and say, oh, well, I tried it. I gave it a shot, but it just wasn't.
Welcome to the Life Coach Baker podcast. I'm Nicole Baker, life coach for perfectionists who want to set goals and actually follow through with them. I went to my first personal development seminar at the age of 1. Yes, I was quite literally born into this industry. But by 15, I started to implement this mindset mumbo jumbo I'd heard so much about, and it worked. As a recovering perfectionist myself, I've been able to set goals that are way out of my comfort zone and achieve them by doing things imperfectly, without self-judgment, and without the fear of their opinions. And now I help others to do the same. So if you are capital D done feeling like a hostage to this a-hole called perfectionism, then this show is for you. My goal is for you to leave each episode with tactical action steps that you can start to implement in your life now. I may be in my 20s. I may have the voice of a sassier Cinderella, but I've been doing this personal development-ish since I was a toddler. So let's dive in. What is up, sweet, beautiful friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Life Coach Baker podcast. Today, I am sitting down with Paul Levitin. Now, Paul and I connected actually through a Facebook group, and he started telling me a little bit about what he does, what his areas of expertise are, how he has this whole framework around quitting, and what are the positives and negatives of it. And I immediately was just like, you are fascinating. You need to come on the podcast. So I am so excited to have Paul on today. Paul is a behavioral change specialist and a self-confidence coach. He's a writer, a coach, a podcaster, and a public speaker, and he helps millennial professionals overcome self-doubt so they can make more money doing what they love. And one of the things that we really dove into in this podcast are really two areas. He has a framework around the self-sabotage slump, and slump is the acronym for what he teaches on, as well as quitting. And this is what really sparked my interest, because in the personal development world, and especially as a perfectionist in the personal development world, there's a lot of shame around quitting. I didn't try hard enough. I could do more. I have gas left in the tank. Even if it's 1%, I can still keep going. And I think that there's so much misconception. I think there's so much hustle culture around quitting and why it's like quote unquote bad. But Paul just had a really interesting framework around when to quit, when not to quit. What does healthy quitting look like, and what does unhealthy quitting look like? And I think it was just such an interesting conversation. And especially as we reach the end of the year, a lot of the times, we set out these aspirations for the year, these goals, and maybe life got in the way, or maybe things came up, and it can sometimes be very discouraging coming to the end of the year and being like, wow, I'm not as far ahead as I wanted to be. Wow, I'm beating myself into a pulp because I had all these goals and I just didn't do them. And, here I go again, being lazy, or whatever the word you use there that is incorrect is. And I just thought that this was a really interesting time to present this conversation. Now, just for time knowledge, Paul and I actually recorded this episode back in July. So it's been a minute. So we don't really talk about the end of the year, but I just thought that a lot of these concepts really come into play as we reach the end of the year, as we're starting to set intentions for 2023. Holy cow, I can't believe that was the first time I just said that. That was wild. And I'm really interested in having you guys hear this conversation, because I thought it was just brilliant. So enough of me chatting. I am going to go ahead and toss it off to the wonderful Paul, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome, Paul, to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You're so welcome. I would love for you to give listeners a Reader's Digest version of what you just told me, because it is so freaking cool. And I'm low-key a little jealous. So
yeah, for sure. So I was just telling Nicole before we started recording, I'm recording this from my Airbnb in Philadelphia. I'm from New York, Brooklyn, New York specifically, but I recently quit my job and I'm traveling the United States for the foreseeable future and just kind of Airbnb-ing my way around the country, different cities, different places, and just traveling until I decide to stop.
I love it. It's quit your job, because that's very on par with what we're talking about today for sure. Well, okay, before we dive into quitting and what your relationship is with that, how did you get into the personal development world? And especially because you were in health first and then moved into personal development, but I'd love to hear kind of your origin story.
Yeah, for sure. So my job that I recently quit, I quit about 2 months ago now. I was a personal trainer and nutrition coach. Those things kind of go hand in hand. And then I also was managing a gym. So I started as a personal trainer almost 10 years ago. And then I worked my way up to, I was the top trainer in my company. And then eventually they gave me a management position, which was basically training other trainers in how to be, better trainers, more successful, grow the personal training department. But in that time, I was still always coaching people. I was still always working one-on-one with clients. So I was in the fitness world for a long time. I was learning everything about fitness and nutrition and health. And, after a while in that world, I eventually it's just kind of logically started getting more involved in human behavior, because one thing that comes up over and over, if you study fitness for as long as I did, is that why aren't people fit? We know the answer to fitness. We know the answer to weight loss. We know the answer to eating healthy. We know the answer to exercise. There's no mystery. The mysteries have been solved. We get it. And yet the world is not healthy. The world is not fit. The world is not whatever. So I started to then dive more into personal development, personal growth, self-help, whatever you want to call it, more psychology and behavior change. All from looking at it through the scope of I wanted to better help my personal training clients. That's where I was a couple of years ago. And then also in this time, I was going through a transformative time in my own life where I was kind of getting a little bit older and looking to take life a little bit more seriously, going from my early 20s where I was partying a lot and drinking a lot and going out a lot. And that's really what I cared about, to okay, what does life look like if I'm not drinking 4 nights a week, if I'm not going out every Friday night and staying out till 4 a.m. partying? What do I do with my time?
Yeah.
And someone handed me a book at that time, which happened to really be just kind of hit me at the right time at the right moment. A couple podcasts and the same thing kind of hit me right at the right time at the right moment, and it was just kind of a perfect storm of all of these things. And then also, and that's kind of what started it. And then what was the final nail in the coffin was COVID, because then COVID happened and shut the gyms down, and it shut my gym down for almost a year. And in that time, I had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to kind of observe. And I was just I became a little more jaded on the whole fitness aspect of things, because I just thought about it. And I was just again, more fitness content, more fitness stuff, I don't think is what the world needs. I don't think, again, it's out there. Yeah. YouTube has all the answers. There's nothing I can teach you that YouTube can't teach you. There's nothing that I can teach you that Google can't teach you. And yet, again, we're not fit. We're not healthy. We're not happy. Yeah. There's so much to be that's still missing. And that became the thing that I became really interested in working on for myself, and then also for my clients, because everything I do is really just for myself first, right? I just wanted to learn how to be a better person for myself. And it's I could probably teach someone this. When I got into fitness, it was I wanted to be a fit and healthy person myself. And I was I need a job, so I can probably just do this as a job. So it all came from, learning for me. And then, the best way to learn is to teach. So then, and I like to talk and I like to help people. If there's something that I've learned that's helped me, I want to share it with as many people as I can. But yeah, to answer your question, it was just kind of like an organic growth when I look at it. Like, it's just like the next logical step is just like, how do I help more people?
I would love to know what the book was that your friend handed you.
Oh, it's Think and Grow Rich.
Ah, yes. I love that book so much. What were some of the podcasts that you remember during that time?
So podcasts it was really less of a specific podcast and more of just learning about podcasts. Because before that, I didn't even know what podcasts were. My friend sent me a podcast. It was probably like Joe Rogan or something. But then at that time, I was really listening more to fitness podcasts because I was still in the fitness world. But it was more so that like there was information out there that I could take in all the time. Right. Yeah. So it was so it just switched from like me being in the gym, listening to music, listening to gangster rap or the stuff that I would normally be listening to like now I'm learning while I'm working out, or learning while I'm doing cardio, or learning while I'm on the train, instead of just, like doing whatever instead of just like playing a game on my phone or looking. So it was just the thing of like, oh, okay, like there's another way to live. Right. It's like, oh yeah, like, sure, I could just like, there's nothing wrong with just listening to music and just zoning out or whatever. But it was like, I could also take this hour-long train ride and, listen to a podcast and then be smarter at the end of it. So it was just a shift in what I was doing. And then from there, I learned, I found podcasts like Impact Theory and School of Greatness and The Knowledge Project and John Maxwell and all these people who I still listen to today, who have really who I am and what I want to be.
Those are dope podcasts. Very, very good. Very good people on there. I have so many questions. Okay. Well, I would love to, actually, next question, I guess, would be, when did you start your podcast from there?
Yeah. So my podcast, I started in September of 2020. My podcast is called The Happy Healthy Human. I started around September 2020. Again, it was a COVID thing. I was, the gym. So the thing is, when COVID happened in like March 2020, the gym shut down. In my brain, saw a world where gyms were never going to reopen again. I was just like, oh, like, why would gyms ever come back? They're dirty, they're disgusting. And everyone is like, what was everyone doing in March and April 2020? It was like Instagram live workouts and free Zoom workouts and this, that. And I was just like, yeah, people are just going to learn that there's a better way. You can, rather than paying me $100 an hour as a personal trainer, you could pay someone $100 a month for programming and do it yourself in your living room. Yeah. So I was just like, this is just not going to be a thing. I didn't think that. I literally was just like, well, I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my life now. And like, I'm going to, so I started to just transition and learn a lot of things. And then my podcast is also just, when you're a coach for as long as I have been, you have the same conversations a lot, it's like anyone in your job, in your career, right? People ask you the same thing. So when it has to do around health and wellness and well-being and the stuff that I teach about, people ask me the same questions. I have the same conversations. So the podcast started as just for a way for me to record my thoughts on things that I know everyone needs to hear. So if you scroll all the way back to episode 1 of my podcast, it's Start With Why. Right? Because that's the first question that I ask anyone who wants to change anything about their life. It's like, well, why? What's the point? Right? What are you going to do when things get hard? What's the anchor that you're going to hold on to when the shit hits the fan? Because it's going to hit the fan. Yeah. Like the second. Go ahead.
Go for it. I was going to say, I would love to hear for listeners who are maybe like, wait, why would you start with that question? Because of course, me in my neuro-linguistic programming head, I'm like, yeah, of course, duh. Like, but I'd love for listeners to know, what's the reason why behind asking the question why?
Right. Well, it's exactly what I just said, that things are going to get hard, right? When people think of creating a change, and again, all of this is just about change. You can look at it through health and fitness. It can be weight loss, but it's also, you want to change your relationship. You want to get a better job. You want to be an entrepreneur. This all predicates on change. And you have to understand that change is hard. So we look at these things with rose-colored glasses a lot, where we started thinking like, I want to lose weight, I want to be healthier, I want to be rich, I want to have a better relationship, I want whatever you want. And it's like, when you think about it like that, like, of course you want that. Who doesn't? We all want that. But now it's like, when the shit hits the fan, when life sets in, when reality sets in, that, oh, there's a reason you don't have that thing, and that's because getting that thing is hard. There's a reason you're overweight. It's because eating healthy and exercising is hard, and sitting at home and watching Netflix and eating Ben and Jerry's feels amazing. There's a reason that you don't have a good relationship with your mom or your significant other, whoever it is. It's because having the hard conversations is challenging. There's a reason that you don't have that you're, whatever the thing is, there's a good reason for all of it. And that's because change is inherently hard. So when it is hard, which it is always going to be, you have to have a deep-seated reason, and that's your why. So the thing with like weight loss, again, is like, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, who doesn't, right? And that's like, but why is it important? Why does it matter? Because when it gets hard, if all you have is like, yeah, I want to lose 20 pounds because like, I think I'll look better, it's going to get harder. You go, yeah, you know what? I'm all right. I've lived this long with the 20 pounds. It's not going to kill me to keep it on. Whereas if you have a deep internalized why, which is like, I need to lose these 20 pounds because a lot of times it's people, it's sad to say, but a lot of times people have to hit rock bottom, right? People come into the gym when I was working at a gym. And what would they say? It was always the same thing. It was always, I had a doctor tell me that I have to lose this weight, or I have or a lot of times it was like, oh, I just turned 50 and like my dad died of a heart attack at 55 and my grandpa died at 52 or something like that. So like something scary has to happen for them to like, and that's a real reason. It's not just, I want to lose weight. It's like, I want to live. Oh, my daughter just had a kid and and I want to see my grandson walk for graduation of high school. It has to be a big thing that makes the sacrifice that you're going to have to make worth it. And so like, and again, this supersedes all, whatever the change is. It doesn't matter. Again, it could be health, but it could be anything else, but you have to have a real reason, because otherwise you're going to go, no, actually, no, it's not that important to me.
Oh, it's like, I whenever I hear that, I always think about New Year's resolutions, right? And especially being at a gym, I know you know this deeply, right? Like I think about the classic New Year's resolution. Oh, I want to lose weight, or oh, I want to get healthy. But then around late January, early February, gyms are empty because of that exact reason. People don't have that clear defined why. Oh, I love it. I love it. I would love to dive into now your framework around slump. And all the things you do with quitting and what that means to you and all that stuff. So I'm honestly going to let you take the mic, because this is a really interesting topic we have not talked about on the podcast very much.
Yeah, for sure. So slump is an acronym. I think an acronym is the word I'm looking for, that I created to outline what I have in my experience in my studies found to be what I call the 5 human tendencies that lead to self-sabotage. Because this is just my hypothesis, is that in reality, everything boils down to self-sabotage. Yeah. Meaning, if you can't achieve a goal, you can't. And if you can't, you can't. But if you don't achieve a goal, then that's your fault, right? There's 2 separate things. You can say, I can't because I can't fly because gravity doesn't work that way. That is the literal law of the universe. That is something I cannot do. But if it's a choice that I make, I have to be honest with myself and understand that everything boils down to it being my fault. Mm-hmm. So whether it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's my business not being as successful as I want, my body not being as healthy as I want, my relationship not being where I want, everything boils down to me. And the reason that I preface all of this is because it's a level of ownership that I have to take over things, to understand that like it's all my fault. And that's actually a freeing thing, because it means if it's my fault to do it, then it's my fault to change it. And I can actually fix things, because now it's actually a thing, right? I can't fix that gravity won't allow me to fly. So when I look at things like that way, like, oh, it's just something, it's just outside of my control. What I'm really doing is I'm passing the onus and I'm making it so it's something that I don't even have to try to fix, because it's impossible. By taking the accountability and saying it's all on me, what I'm doing now is I'm saying like, okay, yeah, like, yes, things maybe aren't how I want them to be right now, but I can change them. So that's where I start with things.
I was going to say, one of the things, sorry to interject, but I love that it's not from a place of like, God damn it, like I should have done this. It's not from a place of like shaming yourself into it almost. Like, I think that there's so much when people hear like, well, I'm taking ownership, or, oh, like it's on me. It's almost like this element of like immediately jumping to shame. And I love that you're like, no. It's actually a freeing thing. Cause I totally agree. When we take ownership over like, you know what? I just did not do that. I fully did not do that for X, Y, and Z reasons. We're learning how our brain works on a deeper level. Like that is a huge win. So I wanted to just highlight that because I think that that's really important to see. Please keep going. This is great.
Yeah. And 100% you're right. Like all of this stuff it's all freeing, right? It's all about how you look at these things, right? Because again, it can be like, oh my God, what do you mean you're blaming me? You're victim blaming this, that, and it's not. But the point is, one of my favorite quotes is that we don't solve problems that we didn't help create. Right. So and by a lot, like inside of us, right. As long as you can say, oh, that's so-and-so's fault. Oh, well, it's not my fault. I can't work out. I don't have time. Oh, it's not that I don't want to start a business. It's just that I have kids and I have to take care of them. As long as you have that excuse in you somewhere, you'll always lean on it. So to change your life starts with saying like, yes, that's true. No one has time. People have kids. You have a business. All of these things are real things. They're like, that's the thing. People look at it like, oh, I just need to stop making excuses. It's not, you have to stop making excuses. You have to respect the reality of where you are in life. So to go back to the whole thing. So now that is just to say that in my opinion, everything boils down to self-sabotage because you can do it if you don't get in your own way. So now my job as a coach simply becomes, how do I get you out of your own way? How do I remove the roadblocks that I know will come up, right? So you're at point A, we're trying to get you to point B, or like you're looking at a treasure map. You see the big X at the end of the thing, at the end of the map, and that's where you're trying to get, right? We said we know how to get there. I'm here. I want to lose 50 pounds. We know how to get you there. You know what it is, right? You know, exercise, you know, eating right. I'm here and I want to get to the X. The X is having a successful business. I'm here. I want to get to the X. The X is having a better relationship with my estranged mom. Mm-hmm. We know how to do it. Again, the information is out there. YouTube is out there. Google is out there. You know what to do. So why won't you do it? Because something is going to come up along the way that's going to cause you to go, I quit. This is too hard. This isn't working. Right. So all I need to do is to help you preemptively see these things and pull them away. So the slump stands SLUMP stands for, the S is actually, you just said it right there, is shoulds. Right. Yeah. So the S is shoulds. Oh, I should be farther along by now, right? Yep. That's a big one, right? Oh, it's January 1st and I start a New Year's resolution and January 30th, I'm still going, but what happened? Oh, well, I should have lost this much weight. Oh, it should have gotten easier by now. Oh, I was supposed to have this, that, or the other thing. The should, supposed to, all of these things aren't real. Again, we have to live in the reality. And what happens is if you have too many shoulds and supposed tos, that gives you an excuse. You go, oh, I was supposed to be farther along right now. This isn't fair. I tried, I gave it my all, but it didn't happen like it should have. So now what do? I quit. Yeah. That's self-sabotage. That's not like, so what people will say in that instance is like, oh, I tried it and it didn't work. What is in reality, what happened is you didn't try for long enough for you to get the actual result. And you use that as an excuse to sabotage yourself, to give up. And now you can pat yourself on the back and say, oh, well, I tried it. I gave it a shot, but it just wasn't for me. Oh, I tried the thing, I started the business. It's just like, it just didn't take off. Well, it's like, well, I mean, how long did you, again, if you never stop, you'll get the result. Whatever the thing is, that's just how it can't be any other way. Right? If you never stop dieting, you will lose the weight. No one's ever failed a diet. You stop dieting. No one's ever failed at the gym. You stop going. Yeah. Right? If you go to the gym and work out 5 days a week for 10 years, something's got to happen. I mean, even if you're doing a horrible routine and getting the worst results, you're going to see some change. When I worked at a gym, the guys who looked the craziest, the guys who like people would come in and be like, yo, that guy looks insane. He looks like so jacked. Never, ever, ever, never knew the most. They never had the best workout. They never did anything better than anyone. What they were the most consistent. These were the guys who had been in the gym for 5 days a week, 2 hours a day for the last 10, 15 years. And they had like, again, knowing what I do, knowing what I know about exercise, I would look at him and be like, this guy is lucky that his back doesn't snap in half the way he's deadlifting, but he didn't care. He just came in and he did the work every single day. So all you have to do to get whatever result is to just never give up. Right. So but the shoulds are the first thing that are going to come in and slap you right off that track, because you're going to go, oh, it's not fair. It was supposed to be easier. oh, I know it's going to be hard. We all know that, but it should have been easier by now, right? It's been doing it 6 months. It's supposed to get easier. Supposed to.
Yeah.
We have to understand that those aren't real. The only thing that is what is. Is it hard? Then it should be, because it is. There is no should. Any should is inherently fighting with reality. And the fastest way to be unhappy is to argue with reality, because things are only one way. No matter how much you want them to be another way, they aren't, right? So, and again, we can get really philosophical with this, and we can talk about things like war and cancer and poverty. And it's like, should any of these things happen? No, but they do. And so it's like, you can be upset about it, or you can move forward with that understanding. And like, to me, again, I'm not trying to be mean about it. Again, it's empowering. It's like, what can you change? So a big thing I talk about in my coaching is like spheres of influence, spheres of control. What is actually within your control?
Yeah.
And to me, what's in my control is me.
Yeah.
Anything that's outside of the border of my body is outside of my control. It's my thoughts, my actions, and my words are the only things I control. Nothing that has to do with another person, nothing that has to do with another entity, nothing that has to do with a result, nothing that has to do with my bank account. Anything that is not within the confines of my body is not within my control. And so I have to release all of that, because again, I've been working so hard. This launch should have gone better. I had so many people signed up. They were supposed to, my bank account, whatever. There's like, none of that is real. So that's one. I'll go through the rest kind of a little bit faster. But
I think that's a really important one, because that's one that I feel like, especially this community, I love you guys. I love you guys listening. Shoulds come up a lot. I will talk to people in like discovery calls and stuff. And they'll say, well, I should be further than this, or well, like, I should be as good as her or as good as him. And it's just like, no. And I love that you talk about like, if you keep going, you'll get there eventually. And it's true. One of my favorite quotes is, if what you're doing isn't working, stop doing it harder. It's by Marie Forleo. And I want to highlight it, because that doesn't mean you keep pounding the same thing over and over and over again. If it's making you miserable, if it's not working, shift 2 degrees to the left and try it again. And normally it'll work eventually with enough shifting. Like, we forget that we're allowed to try different avenues to get to the same goal. But it all comes down to exactly what you're saying. Like, you keep going down that line, and it's important.
Yeah, I think people get too specific on the wrong things and not specific enough on the other things. So meaning, like, exactly you just said, right? It's like people will think like, oh, well, like, I'm not supposed to quit. And if I just keep going, then that means that I'll get it. So I just have to do exactly what I'm doing, like you said, and just try harder and try harder. Like, if trying harder were the answer, everyone would do that.
Yeah. If trying hard or working hard was like the key to existence, servers would be fucking billionaires. Like, it's ridiculous, but that's not it.
Exactly. Right. And that's the whole thing. It's like, yeah, anyone can try hard. I always say, like, this is like the idiot box, right? It's like, where, again, in fitness world, it's like a personal trainer who just like destroys their clients and just makes them sweat and pant and feel like death. It's like, that takes no thought. Of course I can do that. I can just tell you to, like, you can go to the gym and bang your head against the wall for an hour and you're going to burn calories. That doesn't make it the best thing to do. Right. So you have to understand that, like, but like, now again, like, if you take anything too far to an extreme, like, well, I just got to be consistent, but it's like, no, you don't have to be consistent doing the exact same thing that's getting you no results. But what I like to say, again, using weight, I just like to use weight loss as an analogy because it's so easy. Totally. People get it, right? It's not, but this is anything. You want to lose weight and you're doing your workout at the gym, and you've been doing it. First of all, how long have you been doing it for? 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, right? There's a time is a very real thing. 2 days, 2 weeks, maybe it's not enough time. 2 months, 2 years, maybe it's like, okay, I can change. But now what the thing is, people, they go from one extreme to the other. They go, oh, well, I tried it long enough. If being consistent isn't the thing, then I'll stop. It's like, still be consistent with exercise. Maybe not those specific exercises, but something like the consistency element is still there. It's like, you still have to do it, doing the work, right? If you're working on your business, you do a product launch and you're like, well, Paul said, if I just be consistent, that'll come. But my last 3 launches haven't gotten me anywhere. It's like, you still need to be consistent with the work that you're doing and the effort that you're putting in, but maybe not specifically on the exact product that you're trying to launch. You know, like it's the consistency needs to be there, but there is the wiggle room, as you said, in like, what am I trying to be consistent in? So I think that like, again, people like, oh, well, like just consistent, again, just work harder, but it's not like there's variability there. And that kind of actually leads right into the next piece. Cause again, in the slump methodology, right, the L stands for lack of clarity. And clarity is exactly what I was saying before, is that treasure map, right? Do you know where you're actually going? Do you know what the result is? You use the example before of New Year's resolutions, right? And I've gone through my things with New Year's resolutions. I used to be anti them. Now I'm less anti them. But the reason if I am anti them is because people do them poorly. What do people do when they do New Year's resolutions? Well, I want to be healthy. It's a horrible, horrible goal. Right? Because it doesn't mean anything. You do not have an X on a map with healthy. I want to be successful. I want to be rich. I want to be happy. It's like, like these are great goals to have. Again, everyone wants these things. No one's going to say no if you say, hey, would you like to be happier, richer, and more successful tomorrow? Of course, everyone's going to say yes, but you don't ever get there because you haven't defined what that destination looks like. So by lacking clarity, again, you start to spin your wheels because you go, well, I'm trying, I've been working hard, but I don't have the result. Well, because you never had a clear result. And without a clear result, you can't define clear step-by-step metrics that will get you there. So lacking clarity, again, will circle back around and cause you to self-sabotage because you're going to go, well, this just doesn't make sense. Your brain will only let you spin your wheels for so long. Your subconscious brain is not, there's a concept called learned helplessness. And learned helplessness basically states that eventually, if you're doing something and not getting a result, your brain will not make you try anymore, right? Like if you can only keep trying, again, banging your head against the wall until your brain goes, well, this is clearly stupid. Let's just save our energy and not even try. Yeah. So and this is why people who have started a diet, and then eventually they just go, well, dieting doesn't work for me. Right? Because it's just like, at what point do I realize that like this just isn't working? So we need the clarity on one, where exactly am I going? Two, how exactly am I going to get there? What are the steps I need to take? The U stands for uncertainty. Uncertainty is simply because your brain always is searching for certainty. Our subconscious mind wants certainty. It wants to know, if I diet, how much weight will I lose? How long is it going to take? If I do this business plan, when will I see my return on investment? How many months will it take? What will happen? Except we don't live in a world where anything is certain. The universe is uncertain. Life is uncertain. Everything about it is uncertain. So we are inherently at a paradox. And if you are always latched on to certainty, you can never take the leap of faith that is necessary to become successful. Yeah. Because nothing is certain, right? There has to be a level of like trust in, like, I'm going to do this diet. No one can guarantee that when you do it. I mean, people do guarantee all the time. They're called liars, but no one can guarantee that when you do X, Y, and Z diet, that you'll get X, Y, and Z result. No one can guarantee that if you do this workout, you'll get this result, because 100 people can do the same workouts and get different results. So everything, if you're too latched on to certainty and you have too uncomfortable with uncertainty, perfect recipe for self-sabotage, because your brain is going to go, well, let's not try. Well, we can't do that. Well, let's just wait till we are certain, right? Well, let's just wait for the perfect scenario of the perfect storm of things that gives us that certainty. But you're asking for something that doesn't exist, right? Again, you're arguing with the universe at this point, and that's a recipe for disaster. So M stands for money mindset. And our money mindset, so money mindset is like, it's a big one, because as much as I don't like to talk about money, it's that you can't separate the reality that money is so pervasive in our society. Everywhere. Yeah. Right. And it is important, right? Because we have to, right? The fact that I can get up and go and travel, and leave my job and travel and stuff like that, took money. The fact that I can do certain things, there's a level of, we need money. But the way people think about money causes them to self-sabotage, because we put too much credence in money. Mm-hmm. And too much importance on it, to the point that, again, right, you said it right before, just do more. Oh, well, if money is important, I'll just work harder to make more money. And yet, if that was the case, we would all be rich, but it isn't. What that actually leads to is overwhelm and burnout and exhaustion, and eventually quitting, because you're putting so much importance on making more, you're overwhelming your body, you're overwhelming your mental wherewithal, and you're also missing out on the thing that money is supposed to buy you, which is the happiness, right? Because you're so keyed into putting in extra hours at work, saving and not spending, not going on that vacation with your girlfriend or your kids, or a million other reasons where it's like you're burning the candle at both ends. You're doing too much and you're not actively enjoying life. So, and again, your brain will only let you make this trade for so long, or your body will only let you make this trade. How many people someone who was a high achieving CEO, something or other, and burned out and went crazy or had a heart attack or we hear stories like that literally every single day.
Yeah.
Or our mindset around money has to be completely flipped to where, one, you have to understand that time is our most valuable resource, not money. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. Right. So, and the richest, most successful people, and I don't mean rich just in money, but in this case I do, successful, not just in money, but in this case I do, are the people who understand that the best thing you can do with your money is invest in yourself to buy back your time. The best thing you can do with your money is invest in yourself to buy education and knowledge and information to make yourself better in here. It's not, so the more money you can spend and pour back into yourself, to buy yourself time, to time collapse, right? So that's what working with a good, when people hire me as a coach, say, all I'm doing is saving you the years that it took me to figure this out on my own. Yeah, there's magical. You can figure it out. Again, go to YouTube. There's YouTube. Once you understand that the internet exists, information is not the thing anymore, but time is. I can teach you in 5 months what it would take you years to put together. Yeah. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books. I've watched the thousands of hours of YouTubes, and I'm going to give you the 5-minute soundbite that's going to make you go, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. So you don't have to do it. So
exactly.
That's a huge piece of it. And then also just living in scarcity versus living in abundance, because these two kind of go hand in hand, right? People who live in scarcity are so clenched onto like, I need to make more, I need to make more, I need to make more, because it's never enough. And you can never have enough if you don't believe that that's going to be enough. Yeah. Instead, scarcity, if I boil it down to people who, maybe don't understand this concept, but like when I think about living in a scarcity mindset, it's a feeling of there's not enough and I need to get more. Living in abundance is a feeling of, even if having the same amount, it's a feeling of what I have is enough. And that's such a better feeling to live in, right? Because it doesn't make me have more money in my bank account. It doesn't make me more successful than I am. It makes me say like, I'll be okay right now. Even if I never made another dollar, I'll figure it out. I'll be fine because the universe is abundant. I'm abundant. Again, I know that I have control over myself, and that's all I ever need.
Yes.
So that's I'm gonna wrap up one more time here.
Wait, I want to pause real quick because I want everyone, because I know this audience so well. Please go back 3 minutes and re-listen to Money Mindset again, because all you need that little kick in the butt. Like seriously though, like the abundance versus scarcity thing, it is like you can feel the energy shift with someone who's walking around in scarcity and someone who's walking around in abundance, and they can be making the exact same amount of money. One is 20,000 times happier and one is making themselves miserable. So I just want to highlight that because everyone in this audience likes control a lot, and no. So
if you've been listening to the show, or if you're just a living, breathing person in the 21st century, odds are that you're a perfectionist. But did you know that there are 3 different types of perfectionism? After working with perfectionists for the past 2 years and being one myself for longer than that, I would have to be an ostrich with my head stuck deep in the sand to not realize that there are different styles of perfectionism, each one with their own self-sabotaging patterns. To find out which perfectionist type you are, plus learn helpful next steps that will get you out of those patterns of self-destruction, take the free quiz by following the link in the show notes or by going to lifecoachbaker.com/quiz. Now, on to the episode.
Well, it's funny because it's like a double whammy, because exactly that, right? You could be making the same amount of money, and living in scarcity versus living abundance will change how you actually see it. But it's also like, it's this paradox of where by living in scarcity, you're actually keeping yourself from receiving more money. And once you can actively adopt an abundance mindset, even though you're not trying to get it, you will get it more, right? It's so like a very easy example. The way I first learned about this is when I first became a personal trainer. When I first became a personal trainer, when you're a trainer, you're paid on a 1099. You're technically an independent contractor. So you work for a gym, but everything that you do is up to you, right? Like you don't get any, the gym doesn't give you anything. You have to go get your own clients, and you only sell, make as much as you sell. So when I was first hired, there were like 5 other trainers. And when I'm trying to get clients off the gym floor, I'm like, oh, that's my competition, because if they hire them, then they're not hiring me. So I was in a very scarcity mindset. And because of that, when I got into a sales conversation with a client, they could feel it like reeking off of me, like that scarcity. I was trying so hard to get the sale. It wasn't until I understood, one of my mentors at the time told me, he's like, these are not your competition. It's like your competition is the couch. Your competition is Netflix. There's so many people who need your help. Like every one of you, every one of the trainers here could be completely booked for the rest of your life, and you would not even put a drop in the bucket in terms of the amount of people who need your help. And when I started to understand that, now I wasn't competing with them, but 2, I was working with them. So now I was able to refer out, right? So if someone came to me and they needed something that I wasn't really an expert in, I said, hey, why don't you go work with Jimmy? He's actually good at that. Oh, Shannon just went to a seminar on that last weekend. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. And then it was also like, now I was able to talk to people in a way of like, I wasn't desperate. I was like, okay, if they don't hire me, there's going to be another one coming tomorrow. So it doesn't even matter. And when I adopted that mindset, suddenly people started hiring me, right? So it's the exact same thing of like, oh, it just try harder. You got to do more. But instead, by taking a step back and taking a breath for a second, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I am making more money than I ever had. And again, I became the top trainer in my company because I wasn't trying so hard, because I wasn't like trying to grab onto every possible person and force them a round peg into a square hole. So, and stuff like that will play out over and over and over, because again, it's just like, it seems like logical. It's like, well, yeah, you just have to just keep forcing it but it just doesn't work like that. And, you can't grab onto things with a closed hand. Right? You can't, when you're so clenching onto what you have, clenching onto the past, clenching onto this ideal that you have of the way things are supposed to be or should be, you can't accept new opportunities, right? So it's just like, you can't give and take at the same time. So you kind of have to understand, again, this goes back to what I was just saying, a leap of faith. You have to know that there's a little bit a little bit more out there for you. But then just to close this loop on the slump thing, the P, I don't even have to really dive into this because I'm sure you'll know, P stands for perfectionism, right?
Hello.
So that's the last thing. And that's that could have been the first one, that could have been all of them, because that's to me is like the biggest one, is like you're trying, perfectionism is impossible, and you're holding yourself to an impossible ideal. And inherently, that's the definition of self-sabotage, because you're never going to win that game, and you're just going to give yourself reasons to quit.
End on a mic drop. Why don't you, Paul? That was good. I would love to talk about the other side of quitting, where it's like knowing when it is actually time to quit. Because I know you did this recently with your podcast, or not quitting your podcast, but shifting it up. But what are some other ways that you see, like, I don't know if I want to call it positive quitting. I don't think that's really the right word. Maybe it might be. I don't know how you phrase it, but I'd love to hear your side on the opposite end of quitting.
Yeah, I totally get it. No, it's still quitting, right? But the thing is, like, what is the reason? And again, right, I just quit my job. I quit things all the time. But the point is, when are you doing it and why? And are you doing it for a good reason? Or are you just doing it because it got too hard? Are you doing it because you're giving up? Are you doing it? If you've given something a fair shot and you've tried it and it's not the thing for you, then that's great. Quit.
Hell yeah.
Because to not do so is actually, again, that's actually self-sabotage. This is where it gets kind of tricky, right? Because it's like, well, I can just never quit. I'm just going to keep pushing. It's like, you're not doing yourself a favor in that regard either.
That's perfectionism.
Right? That is self-sabotage, because you're actually not giving yourself a chance to receive something that actually could be the right thing for you. So there are reasons to quit, but the point is, when you have to be honest with yourself, right? You have to be honest with yourself. Are you simply doing it because you just don't want to try anymore, because it's hard, because it's harder than you thought it would be? There's a million reasons that aren't the best reason to quit. Or there's good reasons too, which are like, a better opportunity came up, I've tried it and this just isn't going to work for me. Or again, it's just like, I don't even like this thing. I thought I would like it and I gave it a fair shot. To me, a lot of it boils down to the time frame that you've tried it for. Right. And that's why I like to, in order to get around this, I think that a good useful tool for people is to do things with timeframes and with minimum commitments, right? So I'm going to go to the gym I'm going to do this new workout plan. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do yoga 3 times a week for a month, for 6 weeks, right? If it doesn't work out, if after that time, I don't feel better. I've been doing yoga 3 times a week for 4 weeks, for 5 weeks, for 6 weeks. And I don't actually feel any better. I feel like I've been doing it a lot. I get it, but like, I don't feel any more limber. Okay. Then now it's like, you can have a conversation with yourself and say like, I think that this is a worthwhile time to stop. But when you don't have that limit time frame, what happens is you go through the first 2 classes and you go, oh, this is so weird. I don't get it. Oh, I feel so sore. It just doesn't make any sense to me. This is stupid. And then you stop there. Yeah. So it really just has to do with, there's lots of good reasons to stop something. You should not just force yourself through something because quitting is bad and never quit and whatever, all these, like they're like, again, humans love extremes, right? Because they're
yes.
they give us a reason not to think. Right? Yeah. You living in the extremes mean you don't have to think. It's all or it's nothing. It's 100% or it's off. Almost all the time, the reality exists in the middle, but the middle ground takes thought, right? Because what it would be so much easier if I said, okay, well, the rule is give it 4 tries, and before 4 tries is self-sabotage. After 4 tries is okay to quit. And you never have to think about it again because you can just follow that rule. But unfortunately, that's not how it works, right? A diet versus a business, a diet, it might be okay to try for 2 weeks. A workout, it might be okay to try for a month. A business, it might have to try for 2 years, before you really gave it its fair shot. So there's no one size fits all answer for this, but there definitely are reasons to stop trying something. Like, just make sure that you're honest with yourself.
The extremes thing is so real. Like, it is so real. And one thing I see a lot is people, like, for instance, in your business, if it's like, okay, well, I'm going to try a new business model. Okay, well, it's going to be like that for the rest of my life. And I have to make sure it's perfect right off the bat. And it's like, wait, no. We're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, you can always change something. And I think we, in our basic human function, we forget that. And I love this idea of putting, like, I'm going to try yoga for 6 weeks. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, you get to have like a little reflection time of like, do I feel better? Do I feel worse? Do I feel neutral? Did that make me happy? Did it not? Like, I think that's so important. And I think we forget to do that because a lot of people, I mean, first of all, it takes not a lot of, but I think it takes definitely some mental energy and some intention and some planning and like all that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people also don't do it is because it's like, well, I'm an adult. I'm above that. And it's like, bullshit. No, you're not. Like, we have to work with our brains here. And I just think that's so beautiful. That's very good.
Yeah. You that last bit where you just said we work with our brains. This is exactly it, right? This is everything that I've said, everything that I teach. The first, when I teach my courses, when I work with a new client, the very first thing I talk about is that, people have this thing of like, there's no competition, don't look at other people. And, like, cause you can't compare yourself to others. It's you versus you, right? That's a huge thing, gets thrown around. It's on t-shirts, It's this, that, and the other thing. And again, like I would have agreed with that. But now what I try to tell people, I'm like, it's not you versus you. It's you versus human nature. That is the real war that we're fighting here, right? Because
damn it, that's good.
Right? Because everything that we're talking about is just like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You are not less than. We are just not programmed to win this game. Humans have been being cooked in this vat for 1 million years of evolution. And now all of a sudden in the last 20 years, someone shook the dice and threw internet and smartphones and Instagram and social media and all these things that our human brain does not understand, right? Food, Oreos. There's no chef de Oreo, right? There's scientists in a Nabisco somewhere who are literally with white lab coats and goggles trying to make from the crunch to the texture to the mouthfeel, make it so addicting that you literally can't put it down. So you're not fighting a fair game. And we need to come into it understanding that, because if we don't, we start to feel like, well, what the hell? Am I just broken? Am I less than? Or is there anything like, why is this so hard? Well, it shouldn't be so hard, right? It's not, it wasn't supposed to be that hard, but that's a wrong thing to suppose, because in reality, it is that hard. It's always going to be that hard. It's hard for everyone, and you never get out of it. So you have to just kind of accept that level. And now we can play the game, right? That level of acceptance, everything that I told you up until this point, that's just the entry ticket to start to play. And now when you come in with that understanding, now it's like, okay, now we can start to move the pieces around and see what we can do with this.
I have no words. That was so good. Like, I agree so completely. And I am 10 out of 10 plucking that. It's us versus human nature. And I'm going to just put that in my back pocket for clients and quote you. That is so good. Paul, I could talk to you for hours, but I do want to ask you the two questions we always ask every guest on this podcast. And the first one is, what is a goal, big or small, doesn't matter, that you either accomplished recently or that you're working towards that we get to celebrate with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's just the big thing that I'm celebrating is, again, quitting my job and kind of going on this journey now that it's less of a goal because I don't really have a direct thing that I'm working towards, but that's kind of the point of it, is that I've been so regimented and regulated for so long. And I was, working for so long, and I am still working. I have my own business, but not working in the same way of where I'm, waking up every day and heading to the gym at 5 a.m. and stuff. So it's a new season of my life where I'm allowing myself a little bit more freedom and freedom to explore. Well, I guess that's fun.
I love that. That's amazing. And then secondly is, how were you imperfect this week?
How was I imperfect this week?
Imperfect.
All the time. Last night I went out to dinner with some friends here in Philly because I'm visiting. And then I got super high afterwards, and well, not afterwards, with them at the end of the dinner. But then I came home and literally just laid in bed and ate, conservatively like 3,000 calories worth of like Oreos and gummy bears.
Incredible.
And type of food, to the point where like this morning, like I woke up not feeling, I told you before when we started that I went on like a 2-hour walk. It was because I just felt like I had to move my body. And I felt like so disgustingly destroyed from filling my body with a literal garbage dump of food. And yeah, I would be lying if I said that that's an abnormal occurrence. So, I'm far and I mess up literally all the time.
Yeah.
But that's also the point. It's like there is no perfect, right? So there was never a thought in my mind that it would be anything other than this.
One of the reasons I asked that question is because, and I'm sure with the podcast and the world that you and I both live in so much, is I got so tired of hearing all these personal development gurus and major speakers be like, you just have to do this and this and this. And then I did this, this, and this. And there was no but I also fucked up. Or this morning, I also totally slept through my alarm. There's no hey, I'm also imperfect. So I like to highlight, hey, we might come on here and talk and we're experts in these subjects, but also I'm a human. Last but not least, Paul, where can people find you?
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I do the same thing on my podcast as well. I'm always highlighting myself, my own mishaps, my guests. I love when guests come on and talk about their own struggles and stuff, because everyone is human. And that's the reason my podcast is called Happy, Healthy, Human. The reason the last word is human, because what I was just saying before, this is all human nature. This is all human stuff. So that's what the thing I'm most passionate about is people want to come check out my podcast. I would love that. You can find me on social media on all platforms. It's just at Paul Levitin on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you want to come follow me and connect. And then I also have, so that the whole slump methodology that we spoke about here, I have a 45-minute long masterclass that I'm happy to share the video with anyone who wants it. I'll send you a link and people can download it and check it out if they want to dive deeper into what I was talking about here today.
I would love that. And we'll put all those links in the show notes as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Paul, you're awesome. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, I thank you. I had a great time. I appreciate it too.
I hope you took notes. I hope you took notes. he just is so inspiring and he gets me so motivated and jazzed. So I hope he provided the same for you all. Now, before we end the episode, I am putting together a end of the year worksheet, workbook, audio lesson, all of the above. I did this last year and it went so incredibly well. I had so many people reach out saying how much they loved it and how much they hope I do it next year and all these sort of things. And so I just wanted to let you know I am starting to put together an end of the year full-blown exercise, workbook, audio lesson to really make sure you're ending this year not only feeling excited, motivated, having clear goals for the following year for 2023, but also I don't believe in just ending the year and just being like, okay, on to the next one, let's go. And so a lot of this exercise that I'm going to be doing with you guys is very much, let's look back. What have we forgotten from this year? Because there's always so much that we just gloss over. And I'm talking so much good, so many wins that we just forget about because we're so focused on the next thing. So I just wanted to let you know that that is coming. If there are any specific things you want to see in this, is there a specific format you guys enjoy listening to? Let me know, because I'm going back and forth between doing video or audio for it. But I really want this to be something that you all helped curate as well. So if you have any ideas, send me an email at hello@lifecoachbaker.com or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm also on there pretty often at Life Coach Baker. If you enjoyed the episode, share it with a friend, share it on social media, and please tag me and Paul. We would love to see what your biggest takeaways were, what you guys enjoyed. It just always means so much to me, those little messages. I cannot even begin to tell you. And I know we don't say this every episode, but I want to say this here, and I hope you know I feel this every single episode. You all are the absolute freaking best. I'm over the moon. I feel so lucky and so loved. I just can't even tell you. And I wanted to share so much gratitude for this community that has come together through the podcast, through social media, and just you guys. I want to give the biggest thank you to you absolute rock stars, you absolute powerhouses, you absolute amazing human beings. And I just hope you know from the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. I hope you all have a beautiful week of daylight savings. I hope your upside down is not super upside down. Apparently mine is. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Life Coach Baker podcast. Don't forget to go take the free quiz and find out what perfectionist type you are by visiting the link in the show notes or by going to lifecoachbaker.com/quiz. Also, take a moment to rate the podcast and write a review. It is the best way to get the word out there. Plus, you'll get the chance of having your review read on the show. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.